India and China have taken the first step towards thawing their bilateral ties that have been frozen for nearly 5 years. Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping met in Russia's Kazan on the sidelines of the BRICS Summit. The two leaders underlined that maintaining peace on border should be their priority. They emphasized the importance of properly handling differences and disputes, raising hopes for stability along the line of actual control. India also said that special representatives from both the sides would meet to plan the next steps.
सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए।
The meeting came after India and China announced a patrolling arrangement along the line of actual control, leading to the disengagement of the two countries. The militaries in eastern Ladakh and the pact follows militaries from both the sides to patrol the contested sections of the Himalayan border. It aims at preventing border clashes and also ensuring that the countries can quickly de-escalate when there are disputes. At the bilateral talks, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for more communication and cooperation and said that the international community is paying great attention to the meeting between India and China.
It best serves the fundamental interests of our two countries and two peoples, for both sides to keep to the trend of history and the right direction of our bilateral relations. It's important for both sides to have more communication and cooperation, properly handle our differences and disagreements, and to facilitate each other's pursuit of development aspirations.
For India and for China, the thaw comes after months of talks at multiple levels. It reflects more than anything else the power of diplomacy to change the state of relationships. There's a leaf out of this book that many global adversaries need to take. The talks took place during the 16th BRICS Summit in Kazan in Russia. The 3-day summit in Kazan is the largest gathering of world leaders in Russia in decades. The meetings on final day of summit is expected to focus on global issues and also the proposed alternate payments system. And well, for more on this, we are now being joined by our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibali, joining us live from Kazan in Russia. Hi, Siddhant. Now, in a major breakthrough between India and China, Prime Minister Modi said that mutual trust will guide ties with China after the meeting with the Chinese president in Kazan. Talk to us about the significance of that statement coming out of the Indian Prime Minister and how it heralds the possibility of normalcy at the line of actual control after 2020.
Well, essentially, it is the Kazan breakthrough. The Indian and the Chinese leaders shaking hands is something that was unimaginable till last week, and we have seen that happening here in Russia. Now, essentially, we know that in last few weeks, there have been a number of conversations, both at the bilateral level in terms of diplomatic level and the military level. And the Indian NSA, of course, is seen as instrumental in the entire process. The Indian Foreign Minister also held several talks with his counterpart. One of the key outcomes is the resumption of the SR level talks. We need to understand what is the SR level talks. These are talks which were initiated in 2003 under the Prime Ministership of the then Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and it talks about resolution of the border issue. So both the SRs, the special representatives of India and China, that is the Indian NSA Ajit Doval and the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, will be meeting very soon. The last such meeting between the two leaders and the SR level mechanism was in December of 2019, even though both the sides met on the sidelines of the BRICS NSA meetings. We do expect more low-hanging fruits in terms of the steps being fulfilled, confidence-building measures, as it is said, which includes the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, also more people-to-people exchanges between India and China. These are two large countries with large population, large economies, and it's a win-win here in terms of both sides talking at the leaders' level. It could pave way for the wider thaw in the bilateral relationship.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Just to delve on that thought more, that the thaw between India and China is important for global peace and stability, something that even the Indian Prime Minister highlighted. Talk to us about that and how this thaw highlights India's multi-alignment strategy as well.
Well, first coming on to the impact of this India-China conversation. Now, this is something that is being closely watched in global capitals because after the COVID pandemic, we saw several countries, whether it is the United States, it's sending the US Secretary of State to Beijing, or whether it is Australia, there has been attempts to normalize relationship with China. India was the only outliner so far. There was no public conversation. And of course, India has been repeating that whatever has happening at the border will impact the bilateral relationship. Now, with normalcy coming at the border with the petroleum agreement, it looks like the wider relationship will see positive ties. Now, coming on India's multi-aligned policy now, India looks like to be on the sweet spot in terms of geopolitics globally. India has good relationship with the G7 countries, barring, of course, Canada. India has been working with Western partners, including, of course, with Japan under the Quad framework. India has been working in the SCO. The Indian External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, was in Pakistan just last week for the SCO meeting. And, of course, the big BRICS meeting, which is underway, where India was present at the Prime Minister level, and conversations happening at several levels, including on expansion. In fact, the list of partner countries are out, which includes countries like Cuba, Algeria, Turkey, and we do see essentially countries wanting to engage with India, India wanting to engage with the world, and whether it is the West or whether it is the East, India is engaging, and India looks like to be a country that has been able to break that geopolitical jinx.
Absolutely, Siddhant. And that was our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, joining us live from Kazan in Russia.